Hey everyone, welcome to the Farmer Wants a Wife Afterparty. I'm your host, Stephanie Spiker, and we've got to get into the mama drama from episode 6. So each of the farmers' moms got to hand select a new lady for the farmers to meet, but then it was up to the guys themselves whether or not she came back to the farm. I am joined, as always, by Candace Wierzbowski.
Hello.
Lindsay Yoder.
Hello.
And Travis Barrett is back again.
He's back.
So,
you're welcome.
Yeah, we're glad to have you back, Travis.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. So before we really get into everything from this week, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our listener, John from Canada, who reached out to us to share his thoughts on the show. John says that he wants to see more of Chelsea and Matt because she was his first pick at the beginning. And I totally agree. I like Chelsea since episode 1, and then we kind of never saw her again. So yeah, I agree, John. I think Chelsea needs to get more screen time because I think her and Matt could work. So if you want to share your thoughts with us, send us an email at afterparty@lancasterfarming.com and you maybe will get a shout out on the podcast. But now, let's jump in to Mom's picks and everything that went down. Let's start with John and Juliana. Who is shocked that John brought her back to the farm? Anybody?
I'm not. I went in assuming they would all bring their girls back because that's what they did last year. It was a nice surprise that wasn't the case across the board.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was shocked, but of all the ones I thought would definitely bring them back and not bring them back, I had it that he would not.
Okay.
So I was a little surprised, I guess.
Is it too soon for the hot takes or?
I mean, I was going to save those for later,
Okay.
but if you want to get them kicked off.
Well, I mean, I don't think it would be very exciting if I just said, no, I'm not surprised and left it at that.
Go for it.
I feel like there's something at play here with who brought people back to the farm. We know that John was down to just 3 women left.
Yep.
So he brought somebody back. And then we kind of, we didn't know at the beginning, but Jay ends up bringing somebody back and oh, surprise, 2 of them leave. So I feel like there's some production going on behind the scenes about we got to keep the numbers. Something wasn't right about it.
So your hot take is that this was all producer shenanigans.
100%.
Interesting.
Yep. 110%. Yeah.
That's fair. I don't know though. John seemed so smitten with her on that date. Like when, also, first of all, John wants 6 kids minimum.
This is news to me.
Like,
once again, you got these people weighing in who are never going to give birth, and also women who have also not, the men who are not going to give birth, and then the women who have not given birth, and they're all talking about popping out kids like it's eating Tic Tacs.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, that was my thought. I'm
also,
there's nothing more annoying than young people discussing how many kids they want.
At me?
I'm just looking at all
30 years old.
I almost knocked your computer over, not because of your age. No, but that drives me bananas. Like you just go to some dealership and pick out the styles that you like. That's not how it works. There's nothing more annoying to me than young people talking about how many kids. Excuse me. I'm dying.
He's so upset
about how many kids they want to have. It just grates me.
I was a little surprised that all of the dates actually did talk about like how many kids do you want, because I feel like that's conversations these guys haven't had with the women currently on the farm.
That's producer shenanigans.
Yeah, but I will
feel like
say
they were coached.
Specifically John and Juliana, what bothered me about it was that they both used the word minimum. Like or like maybe that wasn't even the word. Hold on. I wrote it down because I was like
No, it was
a little
minimum.
Shook by it.
I think Juliana said minimum. I think it was...
Yes. Okay.
Who was it?
She said her minimum was 4, and then John said his minimum was 6. But what's wild to me is saying the word minimum. I at least appreciated in Matt and Amanda's date, they talked about wanting a lot of kids, but she said, I'd want to have as many kids as God would allow, or whatever, something like that. In the sense that, like, especially as a man, John, being like, minimum of 6 children. Like, what? You're not having them. What if what if there's a problem? What if there's a struggle getting pregnant? Like,
what if you have your first one and decide, oh my gosh, I had no idea how hard this is, and I don't want another.
Yeah. That conversation with them made me a little angry, but they also were both so on the same page about their popping out babies that it's like, well, of course he brought her back to the farm.
You know what I thought was interesting is the fact that Colton, the one farmer who actually does have a child already, he had, for once in his life perhaps, a sensible conversation about this, where he said, like, I've already started my family. I know this is something that not all women are into.
Yeah.
But, like, it's important to him. And he didn't, like, he did ask if she was into kids, but it wasn't like, what number do you want? And I kind of got the sense, like, in that instant that, like, she was not going back to that farm because her response was a little lukewarm. And he seemed a little, like, lukewarm on her, where it's just like, she doesn't seem like she's super into the fact that he has a child already, which, I mean, you would think that his mom would have told her that, but
that was my surprise in that conversation. When Colton brought it up, she did actually seem a little thrown off by it. And I was like, I feel like for the other women coming on the show, I think it was made very well known before they matched with him that he had a child. And so it was a little weird to me that she didn't, at least the way we were watching, it didn't seem like she knew that ahead of time.
Yeah. But again, funny how the one person who has a kid is the one who's not out there screaming that, although he did say he wanted a football-sized family. Forgot about that. But when he was actually talking to the woman, he didn't sound like a crazy person.
Can I say something about John and Juliana?
Always, yes.
So I really, when we were watching that, I felt like that entire thing was forced and fake. I didn't sense any actual chemistry between them. Like, and then he even said, you know, if I was out in the world dating, I would never go for her or someone like her. And I think the mom factor had to do with it. Definitely, probably producers. Like, I was kind of surprised that he brought her back, in the sense that I didn't get the sense of anything real kind of happening there. I mean, as real as we can tell from TV, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, does he have chemistry, though, like, with anyone
That's
on his farm right
I think
now?
he only had it with Samantha.
Yeah. You know what? We joke all the time about, like, or I joke all the time about him being a robot. And I actually thought when Juliana entered the room and she said, I will be joining you guys, I was like, oh my God, he's found the one.
He's spawning.
Robots in love.
That's true, because when she just first got to the coffee shop and I wrote it down word for word because I was so, like, the quote was so robotic.
Would you like to sit down at this lovely coffee shop? Beep, boop. Like,
what? Like, that was so uncomfortable. But I don't know. I don't feel like, maybe he has and we just haven't seen it, but has he had any kind of real conversation with any of the other women?
Not that we've seen, I don't think.
I was wondering, watching it, like, it feels like, is he at this point in the process, is he in the same place we are as viewers, where we don't really know anything about these other three women because there was so much focus on Samantha, and now she's gone and it's like,
maybe.
Oh boy.
I think so. I think he's kind of said that, like, now that Samantha's gone, he feels like he's almost back at square one, it seems, where it's like, oh, wow, I have to get to know these other girls.
I had a weird reaction to his kind of little one-on-one time with Claire.
Oh, the hugging?
The weird hugging back and forth. And also when he was like, that made me really happy when you came out of your shell. Like, it was just very...
Your John impersonation is
spot
on.
John impersonations around here are great.
To be fair, I mean, he's the beta model, right? So we're still ironing out some bugs on the AI part of it. All right.
I have a hot take that's kind of related to that, but it's not related to this part of the conversation. But
don't worry, we'll come back.
It's not the last time we'll talk about robots today.
All right. The whole hug conversation was very weird because he was like, something about, a real hug. And then he's like, oh, well, I guess I didn't get one. And I'm like, what was wrong with the hug she gave you? And then he was like, this is how you hug. And this is how I hug. And as a viewer, I'm like, that looked identical to me.
It did look identical.
Yeah, it was identical.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird hugs because also when Rissa came back to Jay's farm and she insisted on hugging every single woman there. Oh, I was cringing. I'm not someone who enjoys hugging people I've only just met. And to put on top of that, like, this is someone who is going to be your rival who you probably already don't like on sight. The fact that she felt the need to press her body against them, like, just made me feel so uncomfortable.
We're going to definitely get really into everything that happened on Jay's farm, but part of me wonders if he kind of gave her a heads up that there's been some, like, tension with the women, that she came in trying immediately to be like, oh, I'm a friend, I'm a girl's girl type of vibe, but it came across very uncomfortable.
Unlike Juliana, who walked into John's farm and was immediately like, she helped make it awkward. It was awkward.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But then she helped make it awkward by just like, where should I sit? That was my impression.
Is there like a graceful way to come into this situation from either of their
TV cameras and lights?
No. I mean, part of me feels a little bad for the women because it's not like if you applied, I'm assuming these are women who applied for the show who didn't end up matching with the farmers in the first kind of round of whatever. Mm-hmm. So you apply for the show, you find out you get to go on, but you're doing it in this weird way where you're now this outsider. Like, I feel a little bad for them. That's a very uncomfortable situation. Because for the
new women, yeah.
Because when Juliana walked in, like, Kaylee, like, literal daggers shot out of Kaylee's eyes. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, ooh, that's awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we saw Julia and Tiana all of a sudden very buddy on that log together. And it was a real, like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of moment.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about the two, and then we'll get into Jay, because there's a lot that went down there. But let's talk about the two who didn't bring anyone back, because to be honest, both of those decisions were surprising to me for different reasons. Matt, glad that we as watchers are not the only ones being like, wow, Matt doesn't do anything or make any decisions.
Shout out to Chelsea.
Yeah. All of these women are sitting there talking about like, oh God, he's going to bring her back because he can't make a decision, or he can't send her home, and like he's going to feel bad, or he's just going to do it. Like, wild. And then when he came back without her, I think it was Jordan who was like, yay, you made a decision.
They applauded him. I was like, the bar is truly underground at this point.
And when Haley said that she was going to leave if he brought someone back, I was like, good for you, because
I thought so too.
I think I would feel the same way. I'd be like, excuse me, you've got 4 women here, and if you're bringing someone back, that's just such a clear signal that you obviously don't feel drawn to any of us enough that you need someone else. So I'd be like, bye.
Yeah.
So
stop it. I'm so over. Every show is 2 people say, I'm just going to leave. Like, oh, again, you signed up for this. This is a
But they
competition.
Do leave sometimes.
But they do have.
Oh, I'm just so sick of it.
They're
I'm
allowed
so
to make choices for themselves, though.
Nope.
I think she would not look.
Nope.
Oh my God! Wait, actually,
okay, Travis, would you rather have a girl like Juliana who says that she desires to be led as a woman?
Yeah, I was about to go back to that.
Who's like, I've had enough, and I'm getting myself out of this situation if I don't like it anymore.
You're asking me personally?
I mean, maybe.
I don't think I'm comfortable in this space. For me, I'm tired of I'm just so tired of I'm going to leave. If he doesn't pay me the attention I want, I'm going to leave. I mean, you signed up for this.
Well, this is
the question you're asking me is a different discussion, which I'm happy to have.
Well, no, I do want to. Did you want to add something? Because I do want to go back to Juliana then. But
yeah, all I was going to say was like, this is a different situation in which I think bringing another woman in, it's a wrench that they're throwing in that the women were not expecting when they signed up for the show necessarily. So
right, I mean, it's all obviously like constructed for us as the viewer. We all agree, I think, to that caveat. I think though that it is a related discussion because you also have someone like Kaylee who was crushed by the fact that John brought home someone, and she expressed how upset she was, but she goes, "But I respect you." Whereas, like, I was like. But like,
she's
you don't have to respect his every decision. You're allowed to disagree with him. If you don't like this, you can go.
I appreciate about this show that it's like, I don't think are that many dating shows that the women are allowed to just be like, you know what, I'm done and I'm going to leave. Mm-hmm. Like, it's normally like, the whole, who's the man going to pick, blah, blah, blah. Like, I like that this show, the women can say like, you know what, I'm not interested for whatever reason. Or whatever it is, and be like, this is not working out. I'm going home. I'm done.
They have agency.
Yeah.
I think what bugs me the most, right? So if we go back to, they get the letter and mom picks somebody out and everybody immediately goes on. Like, there's no self-confidence in this group at all. Like, where's the person who's like, I don't care, bring in whoever you want. I know I'm for you.
You know who probably would have acted that way if she was still around? Samantha.
No. Samantha would have been like, they're there to impress me, and if I don't like it, I'm out of here. Which she did. I mean, I totally disagree.
The person who I kind of expected to act that way was Bailey, but she also seemed a little thrown off by it.
Well, the days or weeks or whatever the timeline is have gone by since that first date. And
that's true.
Maybe the shine's starting to wear off.
Yeah. But very quickly, back to John and Juliana. The second she said that she wanted to be led by a man, all I could think was, there you go, John, you're at the wheel. That's all you want.
Mm-hmm.
That was another thing that made me not shocked that he brought her back, because it's like, he can just make any decision he wants and she's just going to follow along, apparently. And I personally don't like that or agree with that. And
I didn't either. It was a real record scratch moment too, because up until then, she's like, I'm a private chef and I speak Italian. I'm like, all right, this girl's really interesting. And then she's like, but I just want to be led by a man. It's like, oh, come on.
And that also came off to me really manufactured, because I mean, who says that? I want to be led by a man. No one, unless you are portraying a character of what you want to present, or you've been coached. And in that case, I think it's obvious she was, they were obviously trying to play her off of Samantha, she was going to be the foil to Samantha. Yeah. And whether it was the mom or the producers, just I want to be led by a man. If you want that, that's fine. But it came off so fake to me. Yeah. It just didn't seem... It came off more fake than other fakery. You know what I mean?
The fakest of the fake.
The fakest of the fake. I'm interested to see those two going forward. I don't know. I don't know about either of them, to be honest. But anyway, very quick.
I don't want to jump ahead here. If you asked me which farmer do you think will end up with nobody, John would be my pick.
See, I would have...
John would be my pick that I would
said
pick.
Matt, but after today, I might maybe agree with that, just in the sense that I think John damaged whatever connection he had started building with his other women. And
which was minuscule to begin with.
Yeah. And he also made a comment. We at some point really will move on from John, everyone. But he also made a comment about Kaylee's emotions, and he's just like, I'm just not like that at all. And I'm like, yeah, you have no emotions.
I mean, I thought that I liked that there was some self-awareness there, that he realized this is not the right woman for me, because I can't give her what she wants. Yeah. So that's I think a good thing.
Yeah.
In which case, part of me is like, well, why don't you just send her home then?
Yeah.
Just let her go, because you already know that she's not going to be the right fit for you, and she's clearly upset by the whole thing. So instead of prolonging it, just tell her the truth. But
that's
I think
true.
We need a buzzer here, so that goes producer tomfoolery, because I think that's why. I think they're trying to keep the numbers. It wouldn't be. I just don't think it would work as a show if it's one farm's down to 2 women and then 2 other have 5, and it's like, I think that's where it gets tricky. I think he would.
It's like he said more than once, I don't want to hurt her. She has her large heart and all of that stuff. But then it does kind of seem like he's leading her on, because it really seems like he knows that this is not a match, but he isn't sending her home. And maybe the producers are making him keep her. But I just feel like if you truly don't want to hurt her, well, you're not doing a great job.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Matt and Amanda. I don't really have much of anything to say about them, because I feel like nothing happened on their date. If you noticed, there was a thing where, I guess it was when they were talking about kids, because everyone talked about kids. And, she said about as many kids as God will allow. And he said something along the lines of oh yeah, we're lined up on that, or something like that. And then later on in the show, when they were showing little clips again from each of the dates, all the other farmers, the clips was a new conversation piece. And it went back to them, and it was just Matt saying that line exactly again. Yeah, we're on the same. And I'm like, they just completely reused a clip. Where they had no conversation at all. He had nothing to say.
Maybe it was a dud.
You've seen Matt, right, Nag? I mean, that's him. Yeah. He's just, wow.
So, yeah, do you guys have anything on them? Because I really, there was just nothing happening.
Yeah, my notes are very sparse.
I just wrote that she was very eyelash batty. She was very I really want a lot of kids. Too bad everybody can't see me.
Lindsay's doing a great little eyelash.
It just came, I don't know. I was kind of you can cool down on the batting your eyes a little bit. But it didn't work, because he didn't bring her back, and I'm glad.
Yeah.
Not anything against her. There was no reason for him to bring somebody else.
Agreed. And he made a decision. Everyone claps for Matt. He made a decision.
Yay.
It was kind of fun to hear the ladies, especially Chelsea, and like when she was like, yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to say no. I kind of liked hearing them getting irritated with him.
Yeah.
You know, it's like being like, okay, come on, do you actually know what you want? Or are you just going to keep us all around because we're nice to look at and you want to harem?
Right.
Who
well,
you never touch.
I feel like they seem like genuinely nice women. And I feel like he's just like, what? They're all nice girls. Like, what? Who should I send home? It's like, well, you got to figure it out. Like,
Right.
As Brad Paisley said in his episode, you can't have all 5.
That was the only sensible thing he said. Not that he said much.
You look like you're having some thoughts, Travis.
Not really. No. I think I'm Matt. I'm channeling my inner Matt right
got you.
now.
Okay.
I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Just a couple of avocados
Same.
rolling around.
Yep. Same.
I think that's my favorite thing he's ever said.
All right. Well, do not channel your inner Colton because that's who we're going to talk about next.
Oh, good. I'm good. I'm good on this one.
Oh.
I am genuinely shocked Colton didn't bring her back just because it's Colton. And I don't really think they had a great connection, but she was very pretty.
She was a prettier version of Jenny from Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
according to Colton. Which, like, by the way, that was Robin Wright Penn, who
was beautiful.
Legendarily beautiful.
Yes.
Like, literally played supposedly the most beautiful woman in the world in The Princess Bride. How dare you?
However, the character of Jenny was not. What was the name in The Princess Bride?
Buttercup. She was still beautiful.
Love
Of
Buttercup.
course she was.
You can't ugly up Robin Wright Penn. Come on.
But anyway,
Okay, carry on.
I didn't necessarily think they had a connection. And I feel like we've made it known that we don't necessarily think Colton is the best at making choices.
He's not firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, like
I would argue that based on tonight, whenever you listen to this, I think Colton knows himself better than any other farmer on the show.
Yeah, he said the phrase, I'm dumb, but I'm not an idiot.
And I've said all along about him, he's just a good old boy. Like if you're looking for deep conversations and profound insights into humanity, you're not going to find it with him. But
well, then I think it's Hope, who never gets any screen time, so I forget her name.
Mm-hmm.
She made a comment about he's always just like making jokes and I just want to get like deeper. It's like, well, I don't know if there's anything there.
No.
Yeah, I think I wrote it down. She said something like, I'm not into the nonchalantness. It's getting old. And I'm like, that's him.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? Like, that's not a assassination. That's just how kind of he rolls. Like, I think he is not somebody who's operating at a high stress level ever. Like, whatever, we'll take care of it. It'll get worked out. That's how he is.
No, I agree with you. I think that like he actually had some like moments of maybe not wisdom, but like where I was like, yeah, he gets it. Like he knew that those girls were going to be upset.
Mm-hmm.
He also, I think, recognized that he really did not have a connection with Kate.
Mm-hmm.
I think he figured out that she was not super into the fact that he has a child already. And he also, I appreciated him talking about how he still likes Bailey and he feels like there's a connection there because he feels comfortable with her. Like he's known her for longer than he actually has. And I feel like that is actually good advice when it comes to pursuing people that, as opposed to Brad Paisley's advice, go with the one who makes you feel nervous or maybe go with the one who you feel comfortable with and who you feel like you belong with. So, I mean, I make fun of Colton all the time, but
Right.
I think he did he was making good choices
made a few
this
strides.
episode. Yeah.
I wrote down this is the smartest thing he's done on the whole show.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
I do think both last week's episode and this week's episode, he has done and said some things that I'm like, okay, I'm giving you some credit. You get a few points. I appreciated that he just had an actual conversation with Zoe on their date last week and just really seemed to enjoy time with her. He made a very smart decision. He absolutely knew that bringing Kate back would upset the women on the farm and probably would be for nothing. But he also still, it's like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back cut. Because this week he said the one thing I would have changed on my date with Zoe is that I didn't get to kiss her. And it's like,
Surprise.
Here he is again. Like, there he is. There's Colton. So I'm like, also, the preview for next week.
Oh, are we going there?
Come on, Colton. Nope.
No.
Nope. Not yet.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll have lots to say next week.
I mean,
about
we
him.
can just talk quickly about the fact that Colton calls horses the Lord's Uber.
The Lord's Uber.
That was, oh my gosh. It
didn't even fit with what they were really talking about. I mean, I know they were talking about horses, but like, this is where I think that he does have like a little like cheat sheet of jokes that he sits there and like plans ahead, and then he like shoehorns them in whenever he can.
Well, he even said something like, I had to do it or something like that. But also, was that just really bad editing, or was that like they met? She was like, oh, I'm Kate. I'm from Nashville, but I grew up in Indiana, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And then he immediately goes, do you ride horses?
I think that was bad editing.
Was that like the actual conversation?
That was bad editing. The joke was just a bad joke. Like, I think I have a vision of him where he's like up in his like bedroom at night and he's like writing like in a little notebook or something. And he's like, the Lord's Uber. Killing it.
Yeah, I think he definitely knows that as somebody who appreciates dad jokes and, you know, easy humor and will beat it into the ground. I think that's what he does. I don't like his cheesy come on lines, and he knows he knows it. That's his sense of humor. I mean, he's a child. That's okay. I constantly refer to myself as still a 12-year-old boy. So I can relate. Colton. I think he's great.
I will say I have relaxed to him a little more from like, there were previous times we watched the show, and probably on here, where you could tell that I was fed up with him to the max. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, again, it is still a little like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I think he has done a few things that has redeemed him a little bit in my mind. Like, he does not make me as angry anymore. Sometimes, but not always. So there you go. Good job, Colton.
Mm-hmm. What a brave new world.
I don't even know how to function in it, honestly.
All right. Anything else about Colton and Kate, or can we move on to the absolute craziness?
I'm waiting.
All right. We're good?
Yep. I'm
Jay
good.
And Rissa. So I don't actually have that many thoughts about Rissa in general. Great. Candace does. She literally raised her hand, everyone, since you couldn't see that.
This is my hot take for the week. Rissa is Julia 2.0. Stick with me, all right? I think Jay sees Rissa as like an upgrade to Julia. She's the same on the outside, gorgeous, high glam lady, but now with upgraded software that makes her open to farm work. So we shoved Julia out, and thank goodness, because it definitely was her time. And now we have Rissa instead, who will like still serve eye candy, but will also shovel poop without complaining constantly. And honestly, the whole thing makes me very concerned for Grace, because, you know, Grace is very cute, but she doesn't really do the whole like high glam look. That's just not, it doesn't seem to be what she's into.
And I totally agree. And I feel like Jay is kind of in a battle with himself in a way, because I think I do think really appreciates that Grace is just very low key and down to earth. And I personally, I think Grace is beautiful, you know, but she doesn't do the like, which I don't either. So like the super glam look ever, you know, she just is who she is, and she's pretty and she's so sweet. And I think Jay does really like that. But Jay is also a 25-year-old man.
Yeah, and he likes that high glam thing. That's why I mean, I can't imagine there's any other reason he kept Julia around as long as he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I liked kind of the vibe of Rissa. There was nothing about her that, like, for instance, with Juliana, there was something I'm just kind of off-putting about that whole thing. Whereas with Rissa, it doesn't feel so much like that. And I think the forced hug was like not the best decision when she came
Very awkward,
on.
yeah.
But I do think that it was her attempt to try and, you know, start out in a good way. And, you know, she seems like she could be possibly a good fit.
I will say, I mean, she did talk about she enjoys like hiking and stuff. So while obviously hiking and farm work are very different, but at the end of the day, being outdoors is being outdoors in some way, shape, or form. So it at least she does have more potential.
Yeah.
She said she was at least open to it, whereas one of the first things out of Julia's mouth was, I'm not going to shovel poop.
Yeah.
So she came in with a very closed mind, and I think Rissa, on the other hand, has more of an open mind.
I mean, Grace is still my ride or die, but...
Same.
I think we're all cheering for Grace at this point, but that's why I said I'm very concerned because Jay seems to have a bit of a type.
Yeah.
No, we're not all.
You don't know?
Grace.
What's your problem?
Ever the contrarian.
Kidding. What is your opinion? That's a nicer way to say that.
I'm just not. She's not my favorite there.
Okay.
Who is your favorite?
Karina is.
Karina.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Copy editor over there. Listen, I spelled it right. I think. I don't know. I don't dislike Grace. Just,
Yeah. All right.
What?
That's fine. It's
Yeah.
allowed.
Poor Jay. I do not want to I don't want to forget about him driving Rissa to the farm, and she made a joke about, is this like do I need to sleep with one eye open thing? And he's like, not really. And I'm thinking, in that group, you might want to, actually.
Well, I think
now,
not anymore.
Not anymore.
But as she's driving in there,
yeah.
like, yeah, you probably do.
Right. I was thinking about, because Tiana made a whole big deal about how she's the only one left in her room. Like, so she's going to be rooming with Tiana. Like, maybe not the safest bunking situation.
And then Tiana totally redeems herself with the best breakup of all of them on the show so far, because it wasn't overly dramatic and emotional. She wasn't, can we say catty anymore? Is that all right?
Yeah,
she wasn't catty on the way out the door. Like, Julia couldn't help it. She was just like totally thoughtful, direct, but not in a mean, cruel way. Like, this just doesn't work. If that's where you're at, you're not going to be the person for me. And I was like, oh my word.
It showed a lot of restraint.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she could have, but she didn't. Unlike some people who couldn't resist twisting the knife. And actually, I have a question that I wanted to ask the rest of you, because I was a little confused. But when Jay was dumping Julia, and she said, "You're lucky to have me here, and you're not taking advantage of it," what did she mean by that?
The only thing I could even remotely think of is just that she knows she's hot. Because what do you bring to the table in terms of the life that Jay is living right now and the life that he plans to live? I mean, he's bought this family farm property. Like, he's not like changing his lifestyle anytime soon. So I don't have any, because she made it so clear that she's not doing farm work and she doesn't like being on the farm. So what do you bring to this specific table? I'm not saying she brings nothing to any table, but to this specific table, what are you bringing that he's missing out on? Other than the fact that you're a model and you're good looking? Like, I don't know.
But that's take advantage. Like, were you expecting to make out some more? Were you supposed to just sit there and watch Julia model outfits back and forth? I don't understand what he was supposed to be taking advantage of.
I mean, she did have some, in my personal opinion, questionable outfit choices for just hanging out at the farm.
She got my award for worst working outfit this week because she was wearing clogs to go shovel poop.
Well, she wasn't going to do
that. Or any
that.
kind of farm work, really.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that she was clearly, we know that Jay was really into her attraction-wise.
Right.
And yet he never kissed her, which I think that's another point in Jay's favor, because he probably wasn't feeling the connection yet, to the point that he wasn't like, well, you're really hot and I'm just going to take advantage, like she said. And he didn't. And I think that she's probably used to being able to get men to come after her.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean? So she might have been like, well, what's your problem? You haven't even tried to kiss me. And
I wonder if that, because she said to the women when Jay went off for his date, she said basically that Jay's starting to give me the ick. And I'm like, what has he done to give you the ick? And maybe it is literally he's not showing her the typical level of attention and attraction that men probably normally do. Because again, she's gorgeous. I get it. But I wonder if it's really, she's just he's not just drooling all over me. I'm getting the ick now.
I don't care how conventionally good looking you are. If your move is always to sit in the corner, fold it up, staring at your nails with a giant sourpuss on your face, which is 90% of the screen time that she got, that's not attractive.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad she's gone because I don't have to dance around anymore. The only reason, it's obvious why she's there. Why is she on Farmer Wants a Wife if she's so closed off to all of it from day one?
I think
she
you said
wants
this
to be
in
noticed.
the first episode or the second episode is that I think it's a boost for her modeling career.
That's all it is. Yes.
Yeah.
It honestly made me mad the way she handled their, like, I hate calling them breakups, but like their breakup, because you could tell that she was done. She literally said that he gave her the ick and that, you know, she's never gonna like refuse it, just standing there holding a shovel, being like, it smells. I'm not doing this.
At one point, she wasn't even holding anything. She's just standing in the middle of the field with her arms folded, like, I'm not doing this.
She was so checked out mentally. But then why, when Jay's like, hey, like, this just isn't working for me. Like, you know, I think we need to call it quits or whatever. I forget exactly how he worded it. That she immediately is like, you're just missing out. And you're like, well, all this stuff. And then as she like was leaving and wheeling her 80 suitcases out the door, like turning to the other women being like, I hope you like it more than me, which is easy because I hated it.
Yeah. She also called him boring.
Oh, that ticked me off too.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
That's just, I wrote down a word that I can't say on this podcast.
No, I wrote down, like, she did all of those things. But I think too, like, it's funny because it wasn't that many weeks ago that the four of us were sitting here and she had the whole thing. Was it Tiana was crying or something, or somebody who had left.
Vivian
Lee left, and we were like, maybe there is more to her. Like, no, there's not.
No.
She's hurt because she didn't get chosen. She didn't win. She thinks in any room, her looks are enough to get her whatever she wants in life. And it's probably been that way for her forever. And so she's going to be bitter and nasty on the way out the door.
I'm intrigued for whenever a reunion episode comes out to see if Julia has anything to say.
I'm sure she will.
I want to do just like a tiny, tiny bit of defending my new favorite, Julia, my recent favorite, who I've started to like. Terrible the way she went out. She had the worst case of sour grapes I think I've ever seen. It was
whatever.
Yeah, it was bad. And then saying he's boring and you know, she just hates this whole thing. And obviously she was feeling rejected and that was how she was coming out from that. But just as a person on a reality show, I think she's going to go down as one of my favorites. I love, even in this episode, she was still showing a little bit more of like the nicer side when she said, you know, I was really mad when we were having that conversation, but then it did kind of make me feel really bad for her when I saw her crying. It kind of broke my heart. So we've all kind of tried to make things better and getting along better. And I was like, that's kind of nice. And
I totally agree. I'm going to be completely honest with you. In the span of that happening in the episode to her leaving, the way she left so terribly, I forgot that she did actually do something pretty genuine.
Yeah.
And like when they were having breakfast together and like kind of giggling together and it's like, oh, okay. Like I do think she has deep down inside her, like some parts that are very nice and sweet, it seems like, but she.
Yeah, I think there's a big, thick exterior.
Yeah.
Nope. Disagree 100%. Because anytime they're around the house or sitting around the campfire eating s'mores, they were doing s'mores,
they were
right? They were way past the wine at that point. But she's off to the side, huddled up with Tiana. Like she always has to have somebody there that if I'm making a deep surface dive here, like she wants somebody there that she thinks is not a threat to her and is going to sidle up to that person. She doesn't have any confidence.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I do think we need to talk, which you already mentioned it, Travis, the kind of juxtaposition between Jay and Julia's breakup versus Jay and Tiana's, because I think both Jay and Tiana were very mature in the way they handled it. I think they both knew that this probably wasn't right. And he let her fully express what she was feeling and thinking. And they were both just very mutually respectful of each other. And at the end of the day, I'm not surprised Tiana chose to leave. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have been surprised if she stayed and maybe next week or so, like Jay would have been like, hey, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, I am not surprised they're not a match. And I think they both handled it really well. And honestly, we never really got to witness any of these Tiana mean girl moments that I do believe happened. But I think she ended in a very positive note, at least. So
I think maybe she's, reality TV savvy enough to know that like what you do on your way out often is like what people really remember you for. Because like you said, like Julia's exit almost like erased what she had done earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
And so I think Tiana knew like, okay, my time is ending. Like I need to like set myself up for success here. Like I don't want to be, bullied on social media because that is certainly a thing that happens to these people. I don't know what her aspirations are in life, but if she's thinking like, I want to parlay this into some sort of, I don't know, like social media sponsorship or like a hosting gig somewhere, like I need to go out like looking good.
Yeah.
Whereas Julia, who clearly did see this as an opportunity to boost her own career, like did probably the worst thing she possibly could. If I'm like, I don't know, a makeup company and I'm looking to sponsor an influencer on Instagram or whatever, like I'm not going to go with Julia now because she's been painted as a villain. And she kind of painted herself as a villain. But yeah, I'm like, I don't want my brand associated with that.
Yeah.
I would want my brand associated with someone like Tiana if I had to choose between the two of them.
What would you call it? Would you call it like Sour Face Cosmetics? Or like, what would you call that company?
I like Sour Grapes.
Sour Grapes.
Sour Grapes Cosmetics.
I was kind of surprised actually that she lost control. She just went into like a rage almost.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that she would have been a little more stoic about it and maybe been annoyed. So I was kind of taken aback.
Because it's also not like, again, yes, I suppose you can say that Jay like dumped her or whatever, but it was so clear that she didn't really want to be with him or on the farm. So like you're both kind of getting what you want. Like you get to go back to Malibu. Jay gets to focus on the other women. You're both happy. I don't know. Like, I don't get it.
It makes me wonder what it would have looked like if he hadn't let her go, if she would have stuck around for a few more episodes. Like, do you think she ever would have self-eliminated? Or if like
no.
Jay would always have been the person who has
not,
to cut. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
She's not admitting defeat.
I think, and also she wants her 15 minutes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that was spoken in this was when she said, "You can't tell me it doesn't smell." And Jay was like, "Well, your poop smells." It's like,
oh, Jay.
Maybe that was the ick, was that he's come into the house smelling like the barn too many times, and she didn't realize that, like, farming is a total lifestyle. It's not just something you go out and do for a couple hours and then that's it.
Speaking of farming, I'm going to be honest. I am very disappointed this season as a whole in the lack of actual farm work these women have to do. Like, even this episode, I guess on Jay's farm, they did a little bit of, we didn't really see Karina and I guess Tiana was with Karina. We didn't really see what they were doing. But like, at least Grace and supposed to be Julia were, shown actively like, doing a little something, shoveling some poop. But like, at John's farm, I don't actually know what they were doing. They were just hanging out in a chicken coop. I guess they were kind of cleaning. It looked like they were filling up
it, I think,
cleaning it or whatever,
new
fresh water, stuff like that. So they did a little bit, but literally nothing happened on Colton or Matt's farm. And I'm like, at the end of the day, if the actual purpose of this show, which I understand reality TV, the purpose of it is to get viewers. I get that. But if you want to try and make it seem like the purpose of this show is to find these farmers, wives, partners, the women need to know what they're getting into. And so because again, I said this last week, it's been since I think episode 3 that they've really done anything on the farms. And now we just finished episode 6. So I'm like,
what do you mean? On Colton's farm, the 4 of them stood awkwardly around a horse, touching it like we were performing. That wasn't work.
They did.
That wasn't farm work.
Yeah. It is interesting though. I thought, you pointed out that like we didn't really see Karina or Tiana working with the horse. They were told to basically go groom the horse.
Yeah.
And I was thinking when they were instructed to do that, do they know how to groom a horse? This is a large, powerful animal.
Here you go, girls.
I know I would not feel comfortable if someone gave me a brush and a bucket and were like, go groom this horse. I would be scared, honestly. I'm not a huge horse person, but I'd be like, okay, I don't know. What if I do something and it upsets the horse and it kicks me or it runs away or whatever? Like, I thought that was odd. And then, yeah, like you said, like the girl's just standing around tentatively laying hands on the horse.
Well,
maybe they were scared too, or they're like, we've been told to sit here, but we don't want to like spook it. I
saw it and I had a flashback to one of my favorite TV shows, Shoresy, and it's about, like minor league hockey comedy, right? But there's this thing where they got the team doing the promo for the local like truck dealership, and they're like, they got the truck on the ice and they're reading the ad and they're like, he's just standing there so stiff, like reading it like an AI robot, and they're like, touch the truck, make it look more and he just literally sticks a finger out and just like he's pointing to the truck. And that's what I thought of when I saw the horse thing. I was like, they're just, somebody told them everybody should touch the horse, and they're all like, okay.
Also, okay, John's farm with the chicken work. Someone explained to me why he quite literally threw a chicken at Hope. Because that was so weird.
And it was kind
because
of
it's really funny when people are afraid of chickens, and John knows this.
Well, now here's the thing. I am in no way afraid of chickens, but if I am just minding my business and someone throws a chicken at me,
rude.
Come on. That's like, what a weird thing to do.
I did that one time. Like, I thought, I apologized and you said it was fine.
If you do want to see something actually get thrown at Travis,
we don't.
There's a video on our social media of Candace throwing a newspaper at his head.
It's one of the greatest days of my life.
So you guys can watch that just for fun.
Anyhow,
it's a little better than a chicken.
Again, with John, like he's our beta model, and we're still working out some of the bugs. So some of that social interaction and emotional stuff, we need to work out some kinks to make it more natural.
That's fair.
To your point, Steph, I'm remembering back in season 1 on Hunter's farm, they were castrating a bull.
Yeah.
And then I remember just seeing them doing a lot more work in general over the season. So I'm also a little disappointed. Like, why didn't we get any more fruit planting or, something?
And I think this season, there is a lot of drama, and so they're playing that up. But then I feel like by focusing mostly on the drama, you're really losing what makes this show unique to other dating shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm trying to remember last year with Nathan's farm, which was the citrus farm. Did they show a lot of farming there? Because I wonder if some of these producers just don't know how to show farming when it's, more of like tending to trees or forestry or stuff like that.
I can't remember as much from Nathan's, but I will say I thought they did a great job last year with Brandon's potato farm.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had the women actually sorting potatoes. And at one point they were like, they got them, I mean, obviously Brandon was driving, but they got them in like a tractor with him or in a harvester or something. I don't remember exactly. But like, so I don't know. Maybe it's like, what do we do?
Yeah, we're in an orchard, but I'm not sure what. There's no
horses
tractor to pet.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to more hot takes at the very end because I have a hot take, and then if you guys have any other ones, we'll share them. But first, I want to ask, do you guys see any potentially real connections forming? Because for me, the only ones that seem to have potential are both Jay. I think Jay, again, I am team Grace forever, but I think Jay and Grace have some potential. But I do see potential with Jay and Karina. Like, I think he has real connections with both of them. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of the other farmers have that good of a connection with anybody.
Colton and Bailey.
Okay.
And it's reciprocal, right? Like,
Do you think their connection is legit in a way that could lead to an actual relationship, or is just like they like each other and they like making out?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, based on what I've seen, I think they do. I mean, they both have talked about like how comfortable they are with each other, and yeah, I think it's more than
that's fair.
Surface. I mean, who knows, right? But yeah.
Do you guys see anybody having anything?
I think Jay definitely with Grace and Karina, and I think that a lot of that is because Jay is a lot more communicative with the women on his farm. He actually has conversations with them, and I think that's why we're seeing those connections form.
Oh, Matt and the wall. Matt and the wall and the farm. That's the other one.
But But yes, I mean, I do think that there is something between Colton and Bailey. I don't think it's quite on the same level as Jay and the women on his farm, but there is something there. Whereas, like, when I think of John and Matt, like, I'd be hard pressed to tell you, like, who I think they're best matched with on their farms.
Yeah.
Didn't Matt and Jordan, that was his first date,
That was his first
right?
date. And I like Jordan, but then she's kind of disappeared.
Totally disappeared to the background. That's what I was going to say. It's weird.
The only one other than Jay and Grace and Jay and Karina, like, I agree with everything you guys said about that, is possibly Matt and Haley. Not that I necessarily think that they would work long term, but she's the only one who I feel like he's had any kind of deeper level conversation with that we've seen. And some of the other girls, I remember when they were having the big bed controversy, the empty bed controversy, were saying that they were kind of noticing them looking at each other a little more and being, so that's the only other one that I see. I'll also agree that about Colton and Bailey, that I feel like they would have a fair shot of making something work, but I don't know. I feel kind of ambivalent about it.
Yeah. All right. So I do have a hot take. My hot take is I don't actually think Jay would have brought her back if she wasn't his mom's pick. Because while I do agree, like, I think he thinks she's gorgeous and she seems to have a little more potential on the farm, but I didn't really see a huge connection between them the way I did with him, both with Grace and Karina. And we've talked so many times, like, it does seem Jay is a mama's boy. And I feel like he was like, well, my mom picked her, so gotta give it a shot. That's kind of I don't know. I don't know if I would have, like, if it was a producer pick instead of his mom, I don't know if he would have brought her back.
I would have a small counterpoint to that. And that is that I think that Jay went into that date already knowing that he was going to send Julia home that night.
Oh, that's true.
Because the whole thing with shoveling poop, I mean, he pretty much admitted it was a test for Julia. Yeah. He wanted to see what she would do if he asked her to do that. And she clearly failed it. And so I think he already knew, like, all right, I'm sending Julia home tonight. I think maybe that might have opened him up to the idea of, like, okay, like, if Julia's out, like, maybe we do, like, one out, one in,
That's fair. All right. Does anyone else have any hot takes?
Well, other than the fact that I don't think I've talked about poop this much since my kids were toddlers. I'm worried for Travis. I'm worried for me right now because Samantha's gone, Julia's gone, Tiana's gone. I feel like we're losing all of our, like, super villains is probably too strong, but we're losing some of the drama. And now I'm worried that we're just going to get into, like, the relationship part of this show, and I'm not here for that.
But now we have...
I don't want to feel feels.
But now we have Juliana and Rissa, and that's where the new drama will come.
They're the new villains, Travis.
Maybe. I don't know. That's my hot take. I'm worried. I'm worried for Travis.
You guys kind of already gave some hot takes. Do you?
I'm done.
You're good.
Hot takes.
I think I have one hot take.
All right.
That is, I think that the women on Matt's farm are already kind of over him, and that they're more into their friendships that they're forming with each other.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one.
I love when that happens.
Yeah.
That's kind of my favorite part of this show.
Yeah.
They do seem like they really enjoyed sitting around there complaining about him.
Yeah.
And then also kind of making fun of him when he did actually make a decision. So,
I mean, who wouldn't want to just stay and hang out on that beautiful farm with your new
Right?
friends?
That's true. I would absolutely live in that house by the beach for like 4 weeks or whatever it is. Sounds great.
How funny would it have been if he would have come home from his date and they weren't there because they're all at the beach with, like, their glasses of wine.
Oh, one last thing about that
ladies,
hot take is that I think that the ladies on Matt's farm are probably my favorite group as a whole, the core group, because
I agree.
I really like the vibe.
agreed.
I would want to hang out with them.
I would hang out there for sure. Travis, do you want to hang out with them?
No. I think the only other thing I want to add about this episode that we didn't talk about, granted, not a big issue, but I think Colton and John must have some type of a previous relationship, because when John was telling Lily the things that he liked about her best, he said, I think you're a real goof. As if, so, I mean, horse, goose, I mean, they don't know how to compliment people, apparently. I think you're a real goof.
So you're saying John and Colton should just be BFFs and hang out?
They think they probably are.
Okay, that's fair.
We haven't been privy to it yet.
Maybe in
the conspiracy.
Yeah,
I like it.
Something's going on there.
Well, next week, everybody's going camping together, according to the preview. So maybe we'll get to see them being buddy-buddy.
Does this mean we finally get to talk about Colton's latest attempt at kissing someone?
Is that for this week or next week? Because I feel like at this point, we're going to have so much to talk about next week.
I can hold off.
All right. So yeah, next week, everyone, they're going camping, and Colton, it looks like, uses the worst ever kissing pickup line, somehow topping the one about, I'm a bad kisser.
So, he continues to escalate things. I don't know whether I should be annoyed or impressed.
He's a victim of a mean edit.
We'll see.
No.
We'll see.
He's saying these things. He's doing these things.
No way.
All right. Well, I guess everyone's just going to have to tune in next week to hear all our thoughts about Colton and camping and anything else that happens. So, thank you guys so much for listening, for partying with us at the Farmer Wants a Wife After Party. If you like this episode, feel free to subscribe. And if you really like this episode, maybe leave us a nice review. That would be awesome. You can share your thoughts with us and maybe get featured on the podcast. Email us at afterparty@lancasterfarming.com. And you can give us a follow on social media. We're at Lancaster Farming on most platforms and occasionally post some extra Farmer Wants a Wife content on there. Right now, there's a really fun video of all of us dancing in the style of Farmer John, so check that out. And Farmer John approved of our dance moves, so I think that's a win. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will talk to you all next week. This episode of the Farmer Wants a Wife After Party is copyright 2025 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family. It was written by Stephanie Spiker and produced by Eric Herlock, Justin Berger, and Sophia Curzius. The music is by Tin Bird Shadow.